So I must be honest with you guys, when the transfer window opened, I did not expect to be making this video. Why Erik ten Hag wants to sign Wout Weghorst on loan till the end of the season, but that's where we are now, so that is exactly what we are going to be looking at today. So before we actually get into that, I want to talk to you guys about the OneFootball app, because for me it's the perfect place for you guys to get the complete football package all in one place, all at zero cost, whether that's player news, team news, transfer news, player statistics, league tables, upcoming fixtures, live matches in the Serie A every single weekend. This weekend is Inter versus Verona, all in one place, all for free, all using the OneFootball app, which you can download using the link in the description down below, or by scanning the QR code on screen. It really is easier than ever to get the complete football bundle using the OneFootball app. So at the time of recording, this transfer hasn't actually been completed yet, but it does look like it might be a matter of time before Weghorst joins the club on loan. And what a lot of Manchester United fans are doing is panicking a little bit because of his his reputation over the past year or so. People are looking at things like his FBref report and seeing that it really isn't too promising. These kind of base stats on a fundamental value don't look too great. However, I'm here to tell you that I think this could be a really good bit of business on loan until the end of the season. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Now, Weghorst is not a player for the future. He's not a player who's going to be here long term. The way I see it happening is that he'll come in on loan and then in the summer he'll go elsewhere. That's kind of how I see it working. At the moment, he is actually on loan at Besiktas from Burnley. However, that loan is expected to be terminated so he can then join Manchester United. And at 6'5", I think the 30-year-old provides a really different option for Manchester United and a player that Ten Hag can build around and really use for the rest of the season. Now, like I said, this FBref report does not look good in terms of non-penalty goals, non-penalty XG, but even just the shots total per 90, shot creating actions, pass completion, touches in the attacking penalty area, progressive passes received. None of it looks too great. However, I do think it could work, and here's one of the reasons why I think it could work. Now, this is Ten Hag on Anthony Martial. His profile, the quality is so important for our game. His movements, his ball security, the pressing. He brings so much to the team. We need that profile, and Marcus Rashford takes benefit from that. Now, Rashford, of course, has been one of Manchester United's best players this season, if not the best, and those best performances have come when he's been on the left-hand side. Martial has been up front and kind of working with Marcus Rashford. That's exactly what Ten Hag is talking about here. So I want to talk about kind of those three things there. His movements, his ball security, and the pressing that he does. And of course, we will talk about his goal scoring, because at the end of the day, he is a striker, that is what you guys want. So, first thing I want to talk about is kind of his ability to help Manchester United when they are being pressed. Kind of his movements in this position, like Ten Hag was talking about, but also his ball protection. So, something that Manchester United struggle with a little bit at the moment is when they are really put under an intense press, at times they can struggle to play out from the back a little bit. One of the reasons for that is because David De Gea isn't the greatest with the ball at his feet. Varane is a very good footballer, but his strength isn't really playing out under pressure. He is still very decent on the ball, but not like elite level. And also, Manchester United lack a press-resistant midfielder. Christian Eriksen is good at progressing the football, but he's not someone that wants to get the ball in these deep areas, turn and play forward. So at times this means that Manchester United can struggle to get out from the press, because they don't really have the option to go long. Marcus Rashford and Antony are often forced a little bit deeper, and Martial can be good in these areas, but it certainly isn't his strength. So this is immediately one area where Weghorst is going to improve Manchester United if he joins, if he plays, because what he will offer is a way for United to go direct. Now, this was something that Ajax regularly done under Erik ten Hag last season, going along to Haller. Yes, they wanted to play the ball out from the back, but when they were pressed, especially by the better teams, and simply couldn't get through that press, they would go long up to Weghorst. Now, what this allows the team to do is kind of use him as a backboard in basketball. Get the ball onto the backboard and then a drop down. You know how it drops down into the hoop after that? That is what you're using Weghorst for. You go long, use him as a backboard, lay the ball off, and then your Eriksen is your hoop. Your Bruno Fernandes is your hoop, getting on that second ball. So that is a way that Manchester United can use Weghorst as the backboard for the team, go long to him, get on the second ball, and then play from there. And I think that could be very valuable to this United side. Like I said, they do struggle under pressure. This could be a way of getting out of that pressure. However, whilst he is 6'5", and you know, we see when we look at him, he's a big presence, and he is very good at receiving the ball on his chest, he is good in his aerial duels. He is actually a lot more than that. He is so much more than that as a player. And he actually quite likes the ball at his feet as well. So yes, he will like the ball long to his chest, he can deal with that, and he will improve United in that way. He also likes to be a target man in the sense of using the ball with his feet. So if United can get the ball into his feet in these areas, he is very technical. And what he's actually really good at is kind of drawing a centre-back in, but then using that physical presence of his to hold the defender off. He kind of wins his battles, but then he loves flicking a ball around the corner. He actually done it to really good effect against Manchester United last season, where I believe it was Jay Rodriguez raced through to score. It all came from something similar from Weghorst, holding the ball up, and then he loves these little flicks, but also these little ball rolls round the corner through to other players. And if we kind of go back to this Ten Hag quote, what he's talking about, what Martial does for Marcus Rashford, Weghorst could do something very similar, taking that physical battle with the centre-backs and opening this space up in behind, with Weghorst then having the passing ability to set United through. That could be really useful, so United could use Weghorst in that way to get out of the press. Before we continue with the analysis, I want to talk to you guys about JerseyFIFA.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that's the latest home shirts, the latest away shirts, tracksuits, or even retro kits, Jersey FIFA has a bit of everything. There really is something for everyone, so if you are interested, then make sure to use the link in the description down below and head to JerseyFIFA.com. You can obviously kind of link this to counter-attacks as well. Now, Manchester United have been at their most threatening this season when they've kind of had a 1 or 2 goal lead, the opposition push on, and then Manchester United are able to counter-attack using Anthony Martial, dropping into these areas, getting the ball into his feet, and then turning, dribbling, driving at the defence, and then slipping in players like Marcus Rashford and Antony, with Bruno Fernandes, of course, always nearby helping that attack as well. Again, this is something that Weghorst could be used for. Now, in terms of on the counter-attack, Weghorst isn't the most, what's the word for it? He's not the most mobile striker in the world. So unlike Martial, he isn't really going to drive at this defence. He's not going to get the ball and dribble with it and carry the ball forward. Instead, what he will look to do is get the ball here, again, perhaps from someone like Bruno Fernandes. He will look to lay the ball off, perhaps to Eriksen, and then make his movement forward. I wouldn't expect Weghorst to score too many goals in this second half of the season from counter-attacks. However, he will still play a big part. Almost like if you think of Harry Kane at Spurs, of course not in the same way, but we often see on counter-attacks, Kane will drop deep and he's getting the assists for these moves, but he doesn't actually finish them off because he's dropping deep and setting up the counter-attack. That is a job that Weghorst can do. Again, dropping into these areas, getting the ball into his feet, again muscling those defenders, he loves that physical battle, and then again finding someone like Marcus Rashford running inside. I think what some people have kind of done with Weghorst is seen that he played for Burnley for last season, scored 2 goals in 20 Premier League games, I believe it was, and people have kind of labelled him as this big, clunky striker, who is just a sole target man, and that's really all he is, and this isn't a good signing. I don't think that is the case. I do think this is very much a striker in the mould of what Ten Hag wants. We've already seen that he has that ability to get his side out of the press using him as a long ball, but we can also see by looking at this that the link play he has, he will bring a linking play to Manchester United. And I think it's a really underrated side of his game. We can see his heat map here. Yes, a lot of his touches are in the box, which is what we will come on to later, but he is happy to drop into these deeper areas, get the ball and link with others. It's something that for Besiktas this season he's done very, very well, getting the ball and then bringing others into the game. And I think if he does complete the move, this is what Manchester United can expect to see. He will really bring something on the counter-attack to this United team. Now, the last thing that Erik ten Hag spoke about in this quote here, which we haven't yet spoken about, was the pressing side of the game that Martial brings to a team. Martial as a striker in the past has been labelled as a bit lazy, however this season he has been very useful to the way that Manchester United have pressed. So the question is, again, can Weghorst do something similar? Yes. The straight answer is yes. Now again, in terms of if we're talking about reputation, I think Weghorst again is being labelled as a bit of a clunky striker who you assume is maybe going to struggle to get about the pitch a bit. That is, I'll be honest, ignorance from English-based football fans. Fans, that just don't watch enough of other teams and football abroad. Weghorst, trust me, is one of the best defensive strikers in Europe right now. In terms of a striker in high-pressing systems, you will not find many better players that are suited for this role. He is literally perfect for what Ten Hag wants to do from a pressing point of view. And is matched to an extent and backed up when we look at his defensive side of his FBref report. 83rd percentile for tackles, 81st percentile for tackles in the middle third, but importantly, 88th percentile for tackles in the attacking third. He's also blocking shots, other blocks as well, passes blocked, interceptions, tackles and interceptions. This is a guy who is absolutely brilliant off the ball, and his work rate, considering he is now 30 years old and 6'5", 6'6" roughly, is absolutely incredible. And the amount of ground that he covers for his team is a joke. It's been spoken about a lot previous clubs in the past, how he really takes pride on being the fittest player at the club. Even when he moved to Burnley, that is something that was spoke about quite a lot, but even at Wolfsburg, he's very proud of the fact that he's a very fit individual. And that is what Manchester United need. In terms of in the Premier League last season, the second half of the season, he ranked highest for presses per 90 minutes. This is a guy that is going to help Ten Hag squeeze his team up the pitch. United are already pretty good at it. Weghorst could help them improve even further. In terms of the way that he wants to press, I think that he is very capable of doing what Ten Hag wants, which is what we often see United doing is trying to split the opposition into two sides of the pitch and force them down one side, either the left or the right hand side. So I think what that will entail is Weghorst often starting between two centre-backs, forcing the opposition to choose a direction to play in. They can go right or they can go left. Once they have picked a direction, that is when Manchester United are then going to press. Weghorst is going to come across to block this passing lane here. Bruno Fernandes is going to follow a midfielder. Casemiro is going to follow the midfielder. Dalot and Antony, for example, down this side of the pitch. But also Eriksen cutting across from the other side and Rashford coming inside. This is going to allow United to really squeeze up the pitch and put teams under pressure. And a lot of it will come from Weghorst's ability to force a team one way. To be fair, this is something that Martial is also very good at. He is good at splitting the centre-backs. Now, you might say it doesn't take talent to do that. Splitting the centre-backs is just a case of standing in between them. But that isn't always the case. Not all strikers can do it. And particularly what players like Weghorst and Martial, again, to be fair, are good at, is curving their run to make sure that they are always blocking the angle, rather than just standing perfectly still or just running in a straight line. They kind of curve their run a little bit, and it makes it much more difficult for the player on the ball to pass across to his centre-back. So let's say the ball is with the goalkeeper here and Weghorst is here. As the ball goes across, he will curve his run. Rather than a straight line, he curves his run to make sure he is blocking the path to the other centre-back, and that is really going to allow Manchester United to press up the pitch. In terms of his tackling stats by the end of the season, I don't think he will necessarily be putting in loads of challenges, but I think he will be setting up other players to make challenges, or just to force the opposition long to regain possession for his side. So Weghorst will really help in this way. Weghorst could also be useful for United when they're using a bit of a mid-block out of possession. Now we know that this is something that they like to do under Ten Hag this season, and he is going to be useful for, again, setting traps for the opposition to try and play into, but also just winning the ball back for his side. If the opposition are trying to build possession and perhaps go wide, and then someone like Antony in this mid-block shape is able to come out and engage and force them backwards, again, this is where Weghorst is very good. One, he's good at covering for his midfielders. Let's say, for one reason or another, Bruno Fernandes was out of position. Weghorst is more than happy to track back and put a tackle in this area of the pitch. If we go back to his FB ref report, we can see that his tackle's in the middle third, the 81st percentile, so he is happy to do that. But also, if his midfield is in position, as the ball is forced backwards by Antony, he will then use that as the trigger, again curving his run to stop the ball going across, but that trigger to go and put the player on the ball under pressure. I really do think that he is going to help Manchester United off the ball. He is such a hard-working player. His drive and determination is absolutely brilliant. And he does kind of tick that box of what Ten Hag has been talking about. Those real, mentality monsters that Ten Hag wants at the club. We see it with players like Lisandro Martinez, Casemiro. Weghorst is of that kind of nature. He is a very determined, very driven player that wants to take this team to the next level. But I think I've kept you guys waiting long enough. I know what you guys want to know, because he is a striker. Can he score goals? We saw him score two for Burnley in 20 games in the Premier League last season. Not good enough. However, I want to cast your mind back to a couple of seasons ago. His final full season with Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga. 20 goals from an expected goals of 17.57. Now, this shows two things. One, that he can score goals. A 20-goal season in the Bundesliga is a very impressive return, especially for a side that finished fourth. Wolfsburg haven't been great in the past few seasons. But also the XG shows that one, it was 17.57 anyway, so his movement is good, he is getting into good areas. But two, he is also outperforming it slightly, so he can be a very good finisher. I think, again, he's got this bad reputation after being at Burnley. Burnley don't create many chances, or didn't create many chances last season. Weghorst was very limited in that manner. When he plays for a club where he can get shots off, he scores goals. He is very good in the box, and in the box is very much where he likes to do his work. This is his shot map from that particular season. We can see that out of 89 shots, 79 of them came from inside the box. And every single goal that season was inside the box. This is a poacher. A guy who wants to do his work in and around the 6-yard box, because that's where the goals come from. He's that sort of player. He's a proper number 9 that sniffs out chances in the penalty area. And this is something that United could really do with. Now, for everything that Anthony Martial is good at, he isn't a player that wants to get into these dangerous areas and get his head on the end of a cross. That just isn't really what he wants to do. However, Weghorst is a completely different story. And Again, if we go back to that shot map, this is where he does his work. We can even see it in his heat map as well. He loves getting into the penalty area. That is where he scores goals from, and when given the chances, he scores a lot of goals. A very decent finisher. In terms of the way that he will look to do this in the box, a lot of it comes down to his movement. I think the reason he scored a lot of goals in his career isn't purely because of his finishing ability. In fact, I think that's an area where he could improve. I think it comes down to more his movement. And that's a good sign for Manchester United. They need someone who can operate as a fox in the box a bit. And particularly when the ball is coming from wide areas. Now, Manchester United love to build the ball down the left-hand side of the pitch. Bruno Fernandes, Eriksen, Rashford will all crowd this area with Luke Shaw. And the problem is that United get into these positions in these wide areas, and then it has to be so fine and so perfect. They have to get to the byline and cut the ball back because they don't really have another way of scoring. They don't have a target in the box to aim for. Martial just isn't that. Weghorst will be. And what I would expect to see if he completes this move and if he is given game time is a player that is going to always be at the back post. If the ball is on the left, Weghorst will be on the right. If the ball is on the right, Weghorst will be on the left. That's the way he wants to play. And there's a reason for this, and it's a very good reason. It gives him 3 decisions to make every time that the ball goes wide left. Because what he's done here, by getting into this position, if we just rotate this player slightly, his body shape of this player, he's facing towards the ball, which means Weghorst can see the defender's number. And it's kind of this old saying in football, that if the striker can see the defender's number, the defender is in trouble. Because that means the defender is watching the ball, not watching Weghorst. And like I said, it gives him 3 options. One option is to float onto the back here, where he is brilliant in the air. Float the balls towards the back stick, where Weghorst can kind of use his hand, push the defender away a little bit, ease him away, get into this backward area and head the ball into the back of the net. He is absolutely brilliant at that. The other option he has is to drop right deeper. And again, this player just loses him. This player is going to lose track of him because he's watching the ball. Weghorst is brilliant at pulling out onto a fullback, where, again, he knows that standing at 6'5", 6'6", he's going to win most of his aerial battles just because typically fullbacks are much smaller. So, again, Weghorst is brilliant in this area, brilliant movement. And the other thing that he'll do is while the defender's watching the ball, the defender will check his shoulder, see Weghorst in this sort of position. But then once the defender looks back at the ball, Weghorst can then make a sharp movement into here. And again, he's brilliant at getting the ball into here. He's got excellent technical ability with the ball at his feet to shift the ball and then get the shot off. I think that this guy could score goals. I think he's going to be a real box presence for United for the rest of the season. And if he stays fit and is given any sort of game time, I'm very confident he will score goals. I am very, very, very confident that Weghorst will get goals for Manchester United between now and the end of the season. And I really think he's going to help this team. In terms of, if we go back to that Ten Hag quote, in terms of his movements, his ball security, the pressing, he ticks those boxes, and he is a good goal scorer as well, and will offer a box presence. And that is why, now we have come to the video, I hope you guys now know, this is why Erik ten Hag wants to sign Wout Weghorst on loan. Now, by the time this is uploaded, it might have already happened, it might not have, but we'll see. If it does happen, I think it will be a good move. But that's all I've got to say for today's video. I've run out of air, I've spoken too much, now it's your turn to get into the comments down below, and let me know what you think. Do you think he's a good player? Do you think it should be more than a loan? Do you think United should try and make it happen on a permanent? Do you think it's a bit of a panic buy? Or is it absolute genius from Erik ten Hag? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video. And as always, I will see you in the next one.